Hello, how about algebra students? Mr. Wu here again. Today I'm going to talk about topic 28, which is solving word problems using systems of equations. Okay, so just to recap, so far we've solved systems of equations by graphing. Okay, we've solved systems of equations by substitution. And we also solve systems of equations by the addition method. Okay, so when you have an equation, right, in the two equations in the form of y equals mx plus b, right, what you can do is you can graph those, and the point of intersection is the solution. Okay, so that's one way to find the solution. Another way to find the solution is using substitution. Right, substitution means you replace, right, and then you want to get with one variable. Okay, and addition is where you can add two equations together to get rid of one variable, so you can just solve for the other. Okay, so those are the three ways that you can solve a system of equations that you've learned. If you need to review, just go back to the other videos. Okay, today what we're going to do is, right, this is why we learn math anyway, to solve problems. Okay, and math will help you to become better problem solvers. So today we are answering this puzzle: why are there rules in croquet? Croquet is a game, is played on the lawn with a ball and a mallet that you hit. You got to go through hoops. It's actually pretty fun. Okay, so today I'm going to show you questions number 2 and questions number 7. And we're going to solve each problem using a system of two equations in two variables. And then we're going to find the solution in the answer column, and notice there are 3 letters next to it. So we're going to write these letters at the bottom of the page that contain the number of that exercise. Okay, so first I'm going to show you number 2 and how to translate. Okay, question number 2 reads: the second of two numbers is 4 more than the first. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say x is equal to the first number. Okay, and for the other number, we're going to say y is equal to the second number. Okay, so notice how before we did problems like this, but we related it to just one variable. Now we can use two variables, right? Why? Because we have that knowledge now. Okay, the second of two numbers is 4 more than the first. Okay, so we're gonna write an equation, right, just to translate that. The second of two numbers, which is y, is equal 4 more than the first. So it's gonna be the first plus 4 more. Okay, so that's how we translate that. And the other equation we have is the fact that we know is the sum of the numbers, right? The first and the second number, x plus y, is equal to 56, right? So notice how what I did, right? What I did is I actually translated the given facts into equation. Each sentence becomes an equation, right? And the first equation reads the second number is the first number and 4 more. And the second equation tells us the sum, right? Sum means add, right? Sum means add, right, is equal to 56. Now we can find out what those two numbers are. If we're not given those two facts, we don't know what those numbers are. So we have to use both equations because both equations are both facts. Right? If we're not given both of them, we will not be able to narrow down what those numbers are. Okay, so remember, you have a choice of how to solve these equations, right? And I think for me, the easiest way to solve this would be to use substitution. Okay? So I know what y is equal to. Y is equal to x plus 4. So I'm going to take this y, I'm going to replace it with x plus 4. And when I do, I will get x plus 4 is equal to 56. Right? So notice how with the substitution method, we went from equation with two variables now just to one variable, which is the x variable. Okay, now with that, I can solve. X plus x is 2x plus 4 is equal to 56. Okay, now this is a two-term equation. This is what we pretty much started here doing. You should be able to do this now, right? Inverse operations to get rid of it, to get x by itself. Now we have 2x equals 52. And then to get x by itself, get rid of the times 2. The opposite or the inverse of times 2 is divided by 2. Now x is equal to 26 because 52 divided by 2 is 26. And you can always use a calculator to check. Okay. So the next step we have is we know the first number is 26. So we found out what that first number is, 26. And we know from the problem that the second number is 4 more than the first number. So 4 more than 26 is 30, right? And let's see if the last fact is true. They add up to 56. Yes, they do, right? So I know the numbers are 26 and 30, right? So that's the solution to the system of equations. So for 2, I'm going to put HAT. Okay, you guys see that? Okay, so that's how you would do the second one. Okay, so make sure you copy this on your paper to show work because this will help you with the next ones. Okay, and so that is a number puzzle, right? They're just saying you find these numbers, right? So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a real life problem. Okay, and the real life problem is in number 7. Okay, and this is a real life problem. So the number of calories in a piece of pie is 20 less than 3 times the number of calories in the scoop of ice cream. Okay, so I'm going to say, right, to start, I'm going to say x equals calories in pie. Okay, and I'm going to say y is equal to calories in ice cream. Okay, those are the two variables that we don't know. We're trying to find. Okay, that's what I'm reading. But I do know the number of calories in a piece of pie, right? Pie is x, is, right, is translates to equal. Remember, we're going back to translating again. 20 less than. 20 less than. Remember, that's the tricky part when we are translating, right? Less than, remember this, a lot of you forgetting. Less than means take away from, okay, or subtract at the end, right? So less than 3 times the number of calories. So 3 times whatever calories in ice cream, and then 20 less than that. Okay, remember, less than is at the end, right? So subtract from what you're given. So if you wrote 20 minus 3y, that would be incorrect. You'll get the wrong answer. Remember that. That's the only translation that's not direct. You have to subtract from. Okay, and then the last piece of information is the pie and ice cream together, right? Together is the key word, and together means to add, right? So x plus y, right? The number of calories in pie and calories in ice cream together is equal to 500. Okay, so now to solve this, right? I'm going to use replace again, right? Using substitution method, because substitution method to me works really well, right? And so you could graph it, right? You could graph it, but to graph it, you need to put it into y equals mx plus b format, right? That's what we've been studying, and that's what we know, right? Another way to graph it is pick x and y values that make the equation true, right? But that also requires graph paper and is a little bit timely, okay? It just takes time, right? So I like to use substitution, and I'm going to show you substitution again, right? And so these problems are made for substitution, a lot of them, okay? So, and let me use a different color to show you. We know what x is, right? Here's x. We know this is equal to x. So you see all these orange parts? We're going to say, hey, going to replace u, right? Because, right, I know this is equal to x and that's x. So I could replace that x with 3y minus 20. I'm going to substitute that x. Why? Because they're the same, right? If they're the same, they're replaceable, right? So now we have the equation. Let me erase this part so I have more space to show you. Okay, so now we have the equation 3y minus 20 plus y equals 500. Okay, and now how do we solve this equation? Remember, we have to simplify before we solve. So there's 3y and plus 1y, so that gives us 4y. 4y minus 20 equals 500. Okay, now you see why we did that? Now we only have one variable, right? With one variable, we can use just the inverse operation to solve, right? So to get rid of minus 20, remember we're going to get y by itself. To get rid of minus 20 plus 20. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Opposites cancel out. Now we have 4y is equal to 520. Okay? And the last step, this should be super easy for you guys. Now, the last step to get rid of the times 4 is divided by 4. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Opposites cancel out. So y is equal to 130, right? So I believe. So if you multiply by 4, because that's the inverse, you should get 520, and I do. So I know y, the calories in ice cream, will be 130. Right? And then the number of calories in pie, right? I know if this is 130 in ice cream, the others in pie will be 370, right? Because I know 370 plus 130 is equal to 500. Okay, so those are the number of calories. And here we go, 370 and 130. So for number 7, I'm going to put NOR. Okay, so once again, these worksheets are self-checking. If your answer is not there, that means you did something wrong. But more importantly, know the reasons why you're doing this math and the steps. Okay, and the rest of the problem should be pretty easy. Okay, thanks for listening.